Some may have heard about the 528 Hz frequency, but what exactly do we know about it? Some scientists claim that it can literally heal DNA, but is that actually so? Some skeptics may move to disprove this statement flat out, but experiments and research made over time by various people in different fields have yielded some very interesting results. But if the 528 Hz frequency is so beneficial to us, why aren't we using it in more day-to-day activities? Why isn't it being used to treat various ailments? Who wants to keep this general knowledge away from the general public? And why? Music and vibration is an intrinsic part of our beings. They can be found everywhere, inside our bodies and outside of it, influencing and practically controlling the world we see and interact with. But some sounds and vibrations can have different effects on us. For instance, some people may feel more agitated when listening to a specific type of music, while others may feel that they are sleeping a lot better when listening to particular sounds that play at a particular frequency. It's these frequencies that have made people all over the world and from all ages question the importance of sound and vibrations and discover some of the most fascinating things about how the human body reacts to them. There are many frequencies out there. Some of them are more pleasant to listen to, while others may be preferred by people that work with sounds, such as technicians and musicians, in order to properly adjust their instruments and tune before a concert. The 528 Hz frequency is one of the frequencies that stand at the crossroads between these uses. That's because it's been used by many professionals throughout the centuries, and it's also been proven to have benefic effects on the human body as well. From ancient times, frequencies like the 528 one were used in ritualistic chants all over the world. From the Far East and all the way to the modern West, religious practitioners would sing and chant using these frequencies. It's believed that they chose to do so because they were aware of the connection the frequencies had with nature itself. Sure, it was way before modern science could confirm this link, but they were surely onto something. Moving closer to our time, the 528 Hz frequency may have been overlooked in favor of others, but never forgotten. It's been called one of the solfeggio frequencies. That's because it's one of the 7 frequencies used by any singer or performer in order to tune and adjust their instruments. Most famously, John Lennon composed Imagine using the 528 Hz frequency. Besides this one, the other frequencies have also been used by various artists over time, some still being used to this day. Famous recording artists even use this frequency today, with people like Daniel Kohler designing and tuning pianos to use that frequency in an effort to demonstrate its benefits. And just like with the 432 Hz frequency, music recorded at 528 Hz is easier to listen to and has more benefits for the listener. But the 528 Hz frequency doesn't just play an important part in music. It's been linked to many natural phenomena as well, making it one of the most important frequencies in the world. Dr. Leonard Horowitz, who has done multiple experiments with the frequency, named it the musical mathematical matrix of creation. That's because he believes that all of creation is linked, in one way or another, to this frequency. He backs his claims up by saying that the frequency has been determined to be at the center of the electromagnetic spectrum. Granted, some people may not see the connection between sound and light, let alone the connection. But think about the fact that color is just light at different wavelengths. And, as all waves, they travel at a certain frequency. This is where the two meet. Because they're both expressed in numerical values, they can be interchangeable, and so you get the connection between the 528 frequency and the light spectrum. But there are more relations to other things in nature. The 528 Hz frequency can be found in almost anything that surrounds us in nature. For instance, the carbon-6 hexagonal ring reflects the geometry of the 528 Hz frequency. In fact, circles and their geometry would be inexistent without the 528 Hz frequency. Some insects that pollinate plants all over the world buzz at a frequency of 528 Hz. Even the sun has the 528 Hz frequency embedded in it. When recording the sound the sun makes and comparing that recording to a tuning fork, NASA scientists have discovered that it has a 528 Hz frequency. Sure, some may say that the sun doesn't actually make any sound because it's in the vacuum of space, but modern recording equipment made it possible to actually listen to the sound the sun makes while it's burning in space. Chlorophyll vibrates at a 528 Hz frequency. That's why it has that greenish color to it.
That's the color of grass in the botanical world. That color of grass is that color because of 528.
And that's why some scientists believe that it can so effortlessly turn sunlight into energy in order to feed the plants. Dr. Leonard Horowitz has this to say about plants and the way they use the 528 Hz frequency. Grass is green with love, 528. That is why chlorophyll is the most powerful healing pigment in biology. It's why people and animals eat grass to regain health, and why the air you breathe, the prana of life, or the chi in Oriental medicine, is filled with the holy aloha spirit of love. It vibrates in 528, sending spiritual signals for sustenance through your blood, restoring and invigorating every strand of DNA and cell in your body. Another interesting way in which the 528 frequency links to nature is the fact that it can be used to interact with water and water molecules.
The universe is made of water. Not only does the Bible say that, but NASA science proved that about 10 years ago when they discovered water throughout space.
And that's not just water one can find in the ocean or in a stream. The water inside your body can interact with that frequency as well. That has been demonstrated numerous times by different experts from around the world. But maybe the most compelling evidence is the experiment done by the Hutchinsons in the wake of the BP Deepwater Horizon oil spill, and then confirmed by Dr. Robert Naiman. They proved that using the 528 Hz frequency, they can literally clean up the water that has been affected by oil and grease. Extrapolating from this, the water in your body can be altered as well by using the exact same frequency. How do we use the 528 Hz frequency on our bodies? Although music has been known to enhance certain functions of the human body, the 528 Hz frequency is different. The frequency doesn't miraculously heal your bones or give you superhuman strength. It does, however, alter your mood in the most beneficial ways possible. For example, it can be used to reduce anxiety. Sure, some will say that listening to calm music no matter what the frequency will reduce anxiety. But with 528 Hz frequency music, it's a little more than simply listening to relaxing tunes on your weekend drive. Experiments conducted on rats have concluded that the 528 Hz frequency has an anxiety-reducing effect on their brains. It also showed that it slowed down oxidation of the brain tissue. And although some may say that this only works on rats, the study that came after the experiment concluded that based on these results, a music-based therapy that can be applied to humans is on its way. Speaking about people and how they are influenced by the 528 Hz frequency, Dr. Leonard Horowitz says that we are the only species that is in dissonance to the rest of the world. That's because we've been using the frequencies we were given all wrong and have accustomed our bodies to receiving and emitting information at the wrong frequency. It isn't that we want to do that. It's just that we were programmed over time to ignore our more natural and beneficial frequencies. From the days of Verdi and all the way to modern music history, there have been people that have tried disconnecting us from the natural frequencies we find in nature. They've done this by either imposing a standard of tuning for all instruments worldwide, or by using various sounds that, when heard, promoted aggression and unhealthy thoughts in people. And by using the 528 Hz frequency, we can start and undo what has been done and become more in tune with the real frequency of our bodies. Negativity can be wiped out of the body. And also, we would stop hating ourselves and each other. This would lead to a truly revolutionary change in the way people interact and understand one another. One experiment that clearly shows how the 528 Hz frequency can be used to improve the human body is the stress test, devised to measure any changes in the endocrine and autonomic nervous system. The test concluded that when exposed to 528 Hz music, the human body shows some significant changes, such as decreased cortisol levels and increased oxytocin ones. This results in an overall stress reduction. By comparison, exposure to the standard tuning frequency of 440 Hz didn't show any changes in the body or the chemicals measured. This led scientists to the conclusion that the music we've been listening to for so many years may have been purposefully made to increase stress levels and to make us more out of touch with our natural state of bliss. Granted, listening to a couple of songs that are recorded in the 528 Hz frequency won't make you instantly happy, but it will help you reduce your stress levels, which can have a direct and positive effect on other organs, such as the heart, the liver, and the blood vessels in your body. Less stress usually equals less risk of heart attacks and less poisonous chemicals in the bloodstream. Another important experiment in the way that 528 Hz frequency affects our bodies was done by Glenn Rain of the Quantum Biology Research Lab in New York. He used sounds played at 528 Hz frequency to see how in vitro DNA can be affected by it. What he discovered is that the sounds made the DNA absorb more light. That's because the sounds made the helix of the DNA resonate better with the wavelengths they were exposed to. Dr. Horowitz talks about how our DNA is used to interact with various frequencies also, and makes a point of the fact that DNA should be used in order to help heal ourselves and to interact with higher powers that use frequencies such as 528 Hz. The studies of other scientists and researchers over the years have demonstrated numerous times that the 528 Hz frequency is one of immense power and very beneficial to the human body. Besides being a very important part of music in the natural world, the 528 Hz frequency can be found in a lot of different forms in other sciences too. For example, the geometry of circles would not be possible without the number 528. That's because it's part of the golden ratio and also has strong links to pi. This is why the 528 number can be found in mathematical writings dating back to the first scholars that discovered it and incorporated it in almost every aspect of building and calculating. For example, the pyramids in Egypt have a strong connection to this number and this frequency. It has been discovered that pyramids contain special boxes, not necessarily used as sarcophagi, that when struck would vibrate at this frequency. Some say that they were used for religious practices, and that is why they were placed in burial tombs. Others think that this was a way of communicating with what the ancient Egyptians considered to be the other world, and what they thought was the frequency that could interact with it. Another interesting fact about the number 528 is that it even comes up in more mundane instances than we would even know. For instance, there are 5,280 feet in a mile. Sure, some may simply say that this is a coincidence and that the number of feet in a mile has no relevance to the importance of the number itself. But 528 isn't simply just another number that mathematicians use in overcomplicated measurements. It's actually a quite important Pythagorean number and also a vital instrument for measuring large distances, such as in space. The 528 Hz frequency is also called the frequency of love. This may sound a bit cheesy to some, but it actually makes a lot of sense when you start doing research and understanding how frequencies have been identified over the years. All of the 7 solfeggio frequencies have special characteristics that make them unique and very useful in certain situations. For instance, the 417 Hz frequency has been used to remove negative energies from the body when listened to. It's also been used to help people get over traumas easier, and it's usually associated with new life and new beginnings. The 963 Hz frequency has been associated with the activation of the pineal gland, which makes us more receptive to higher frequencies and generally more disposed to get in touch with the spiritual part of existence. The 528 Hz frequency, however, is known as the love frequency.
If it wasn't for 528, you wouldn't have circles, you wouldn't have squares, you wouldn't have any sacred geometry, you wouldn't have pyramids. The pyramids are intimately constructed based on the mathematics of pi, phi. You wouldn't have pi or phi without 528. In other words, you wouldn't have anything without love.
That's not because love songs are composed using this frequency, although some have been. This frequency enhances self-love. That means that it boosts self-esteem and also helps with healing whatever is harming the body from within. It can be used to reduce anxiety and also to help with transformations in the body. Some use it in meditation in order to help balance the solar plexus chakra and to promote healing of the DNA itself. making it more receptive to higher frequencies from without. Although much of the mainstream music that is out today isn't tuned at 528 Hz, there are still some people out there trying to help others take advantage of the healing powers of this frequency. That's why you can find such music if you know where to look. For instance, Dr. Leonard Horowitz organized a massive concert called the Live H2O Concert for the Living Water, where artists came from all over the world to sing and chant and promote the power that the 528 Hz frequency has and the important connection between it and water.
Through 6, I spent 3 days with colleagues. And what you'll find is in the beginning there was the creator and the water at the same time. And then the word was spoken, the electromagnetic frequencies of sound, of language, of mathematics divine, was spoken into the water that then created.
But that was back in 2009. If you missed that or want something newer, you can always find recording artists that are using the 528 Hz frequency in their music. Scott Huckabee, for instance, who was also invited to the concert that Dr. Horowitz organized, is one of the artists that are today promoting the usage of 528 Hz frequency in music. His music can be found easily online, and you can even use his website in order to find new concert dates and locations. For those that want a more mainstream option, there's always Amory Nicholson. Known to fans as simply A-Marie, her 2011 album Cymatica, Volume 1, was recorded in 528 Hz. She's a multiple Grammy nominee with hits that will entertain and help heal you simultaneously. This way, you're getting the best of both worlds. To say that the 528 Hz frequency is an important one is a huge understatement. It has been literally proven dozens of times that this frequency isn't just for musicians looking for a new tuning key. It has roots deeply intertwined with music and rituals from almost all ages. Also, it has a growing number of users that are now starting to develop a taste for the kind of music that is closer to what they actually need, rather than what they're given every day via the mainstream music industry. Music that heals and uplifts the spirits is hard to find. But any music in 528 Hz frequency will do just that. More so, it will actually heal you from what you're suffering and open up you and your mind to new possibilities. Some may call this miraculous, while others may simply just refuse to believe it. The easiest way to make an informed decision is to listen to this type of music. Do some research and see for yourself just what healing effects it can have. The 528 Hz frequency can also be the catalyst for any change we want to see in society. Because it helps people get rid of any negative energy they might have stored up in themselves, it can also help them change their perspective on life. Also, because the 528 Hz frequency is linked to improvements to the self-esteem part of the brain, we would no longer have such harsh thoughts about ourselves, and we would stop comparing ourselves based on shallow principles dictated by others and imposed over time. Another thing about 528 Hz frequency is that it is linked to almost everything around us. So it only stands to reason that we are linked to everything around us through it. This way we can connect with parts of the world that we didn't even know existed, parts of the unseen world that we were maybe afraid to admit existed, and even parts of our bodies that we've ignored for so long we forgot existed. That's because examples and traces of this frequency and this number can be found everywhere, from the simple walks you take outside and all the way to the treatments used to cure your body. 528 Hz frequency is a formidable tool that can help everybody unlock their full potential and also help them feel better about themselves.